Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Hope you guys are having an awesome day. Well, today we're going to be watching about student love socialism but can't define. I don't really know what it's talking about, so we're going to watch it and know what it's talking about. Let's see.
When you hear the word socialism, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Equality.
Um, Probably not something positive based off of history classes that we've had, and the way it's taught, but redistributing wealth definitely sounds more positive.
I really have no issues with socialism. I'm a socialist myself and think um, it's kind of the only way we're going to get anything close to real social reform in this country.
I am from Russia, a former Soviet country.
I feel people don't really have a perspective on socialism in America like people have everywhere in the world because of how it was presented. I personally haven't seen it working anywhere in favor of people as well, where their freedoms and human rights are respected.
I generally think it's a good thing, especially when we're considering how this ties into racial factors as well. I think it's important to understand how the redistribution of wealth can be seen as a way to ameliorate histories of racial hierarchy.
I think there are some good things in thinking about leveling out different inequalities. I think about questions about choice, like what choice people have in different decisions from systematic levels.
I certainly see it as a good thing. I guess this might be cheesy to say, but I would say some level of equality.
So, how would you define socialism?
Um, I honestly not that familiar with the term.
I feel like I'm not as informed on the problem as I'd like to be, but I would say that capitalism is kind of the driver for a lot of the problems that we have in America, yeah.
Giving workers the means to production. To be honest, my understanding of it is not as amazing as I would like it to be.
It's the redistribution of wealth as a means to achieve a better society.
Socialism is the workers being their own bosses.
The economic theory that the means of production, the money people make, the private property they own, should be taken and redistributed equally. That's an idea that you lean towards.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it depends how you do it. A lot of people consider private property to be something they have a right to, when it's really not something that's so fundamental to who we are, or particularly just capital.
If you're making $10 million a year, I think it's fair to tax at a very high rate because you are already so rich.
I would not be opposed to the government doing that. I think government should be actually doing that, but I just think it is like a very tangible topic that should be, kind of approached from different points of view, different aspects. Everything has to be taken into consideration. There's a reason why it hasn't worked in the USSR, for example.
If you're in a class and you have an open notes test, and you spend 10 hours coming up with all these pages of notes, a lot of hard work put into it. You get to class and the professor, no one else has taken notes for the test, and the professor looks at you and says, you have to give 10 out of your 15 pages, hand them out to your other classmates, and then you don't have all of your notes. Do you think that that's fair?
Yeah, I'd be pretty frustrated. Yeah.
So maybe when we talk about redistributing wealth, if you got your dream job, making a six-figure salary, someone steps in and says, hey, even though you worked really hard for years and years to get this job, we're going to take the rewards that you've reaped, and they redistribute that equally. Would you be okay with that?
Well, when it's presented that way, it certainly sounds worse.
Makes you think about it a little differently.
Yeah. Yep.
If you're in a group project with three other people, so there's four of you, and you do all the work, the project gets a perfect score, but since you guys are all in the same group, the professor takes part of your score and gives it out to the other people who didn't do any of the work. Would that be fair?
From an individual perspective, no.
No, I wouldn't think that's fair.
I wouldn't think that was fair, but I think that would be a poor analogy to describe the economic state as it is. I don't think that's how things actually operate.
We're not looking for the government to just radically make decisions without looking to the people. What I want to push for is for the people to push for these policies. I want people to choose these things, and so I want to elect representatives who will pass these socialist policies.
You want people to choose to elect someone to choose to take away their private property rights.
No, it's just like taxes, not private property right.
Well, money is property.
Well, if you consider a tax a violation of private property.
I know, I've seen the socialism sucks. So.
Yeah, well, I don't like your ideology. I don't know about you. You seem like a nice enough person.
Yeah.
Your ideas are practically evil, but that's...
Oh, well, same for you.
Okay, tell me why.
What?
Tell me why.
Capitalism is a vampire. I don't know.
Is it what?
I said capitalism is a dead vampire that feasts on the blood of the working class.
Capitalism is a deadly vampire that feasts on the blood of the working class.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that for me?
I don't really want to right now, but like, because like.
Do you have an iPhone?
Yeah.
So you're feasting on the blood of the working class. How dare you?
Yeah, I know.
How do you feel about that?
We all have to do the best that we can.
No, you don't. Why don't you go live on a farm and not use the fruits of the working class and just be a socialist with your friends? Why use the fruits of the free market? Isn't that kind of hypocritical?
No, because the free market is so pervasive, we have like no choice but to.
No, like I said, you could go live on a farm by yourself, like the Amish do, or like socialists in Vermont do, but yet you choose to live in a free market society and benefit from it, and use the heat and the light and the well-being and the medicine and the food all as a byproduct of a market-based society.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I love it. But...
Oh, you love it, but you said it's a vampire sucking the blood of the working class, so isn't that a little contradictory?
What?
What's your dad's opinion?
My dad's opinion?
Yeah. How old are you?
I'm 18.
Is your dad the same persuasion as you?
No. He's a Republican.
Slightly, that's okay.
He's
Republican.
Yeah, he's a Republican.
But no one's preventing. See, here's the thing: no one's preventing you from living like a socialist. You can go do that, but your worldview would prevent me from living like an entrepreneur or like a capitalist. So inherently, your ideology is built on control of other people's choices. Ours is built on freedom. If you want to go live like a socialist, I have no problem with that. You can go start your own socialist colony in rural Utah, buy your own land and share your own water and share your own food. That's what's so amazing about voluntary societies. Whereas what you talk about is a coercive society. I don't have that freedom to live how I want to live under the worldview that you espouse. And I think that's immoral.
You're forcing them.
And again, I don't believe in revolutionary socialism.
I didn't accuse you of that. You said Democrat socialism.
Yeah. That's just the club that was really. I'm fairly Marxist, honestly.
Okay, let's talk.
That's just the club that I'm in. But I believe that eventually we will get to a state where enough people, we will collectively come together and say, hey, this is better, for all of us. I don't. Obviously, with the world we live in today, like socialism can't exist, like today in America. Like I'm very pragmatic, at my core.
Okay.
I recognize that's never going to happen.
You said the Marxist thing. Can you give me an example where Marxism has ever worked?
No, but that's because we aren't.
But it's been tried over 100 times in the last 100 years, and it's never worked. It's 0 for 100. And isn't that kind of concerning to you?
Well, so the thing is, in a Marxist state, it's a stateless, classless, money-less society.
Right, and so that's just utopia, man. I mean, that's no different than a fiction novel about Neverland. It's been tried, and the results are hundreds of millions of people dead.
But that's ultimately what the true concept of utopia is.
Right. So here's the question: do you think utopia is attainable?
I think it is, not in our lifetime.
Okay.
Have you read the Communist Manifesto?
Yeah. And so, I guess the struggle I have here is you espouse a viewpoint that has never worked, you think's never going to work in our lifetime, and never work in this country. That's no different than me believing in something of a work of fiction.
But that doesn't mean that you can't work towards it.
So how would we go about working towards it? That's where the revolutionary component comes in, isn't it? So maybe you are a little more revolutionary than you admit it.
I don't think I am. I think that when you look over time and you see how societies have changed and how they've progressed and everything, I think that eventually we'll get to a point where people will be able to criticize.
Well, so let me ask you a question. Do you think some people are better at some things than others?
Sure.
Okay, so then in your utopian society, where would a smarter person fit in versus a not so smart person? Would there be hierarchies or no in your fictitious utopian Marxist society?
Utopian Marxist society. Well, at that point, automation will have taken over enough so that and you have to what is to
Are you familiar with this thinking?
No, I'm very familiar. I'm
The
trying to
thinking is that to
No, trust me. I'm not asking to figure it out. I'm actually to deconstruct. Like, I don't actually think he believes this.
I'm saying that because of the modern age, there is a new variable, right, which is automation.
Yeah.
So very familiar with it, but that will never get rid of hierarchy. So
For the 2020 elections, there's what's his name? There's a candidate who believes in the
the Asian American guy, very nice guy, you or something. But here's the thing. Karl Marx argued that in the 1870s, and we've had huge automation, and we still have hierarchy. So no matter how hard you try, some people are going to work harder at certain things and be more proficient at them than others, whether it be music, sports, anything. In the fictitious Marxist society, it means the complete and total abolition of any sort of hierarchy whatsoever. And so that's something you would believe in. Okay, so that's anti how we're actually built as people. Some people are taller, some people are smarter, some people have higher IQs, some people have more drive. Only in a market-based society are those differences able to elevate the standard of living for all people and actually make some sense of a broken world. And there's been so many times that Marxist fictitious utopian communism has tried to be implemented. Over a short period of time, like the Paris Commune, it falls apart. Do you know why? Because human beings are inherently selfish. And so if you try to build a commune, for example, after 20 days, you're going to have one guy and say, no, I want 2 loaves of bread, not 1. And he might be smart enough to be able to figure out how to do that. Then all of a sudden, there'll be a small subdivision that will break away from him and you have conflict. The only reason we have a civil society in the West is in order to get 2 loaves of bread in the West, you have to earn it. You can't take it away from somebody else. That's where Marxist utopian fictitious communism breaks down.
This is an interesting topic. Sprung into class.
Thank you. I hope you learned something there.
Well, like what we just watched is about socialism. Well, socialism is like a system which everyone has, equal share in the community, or in person. Everybody have equal shares, but that doesn't mean in my own state of socializing, that doesn't mean that, oh, I'm going to go out there working so hard, working like a monkey, jumping around, trying to feed my family, feed my loved ones, and someone just come in and like want to take half of my property away. Like now, just like then, they asked the lady if she works hard, she gets a grade, and the lecturer comes in and said, okay, you got a good grade. Why don't you share your grade to people who didn't do well? I won't agree to that. I would disagree to that. I worked hard for it. I read so much to get that grade. And I can't just stay and you share out my grade. You start sharing out my achievement to people who didn't do anything, who didn't work for it, and you start sharing it. First of all, you're teaching them they can get something that isn't theirs. You're not teaching them something good, you're teaching them something bad. You're trying to tell them that, oh, you can just go out there and pick up something that isn't yours and it's yours. Or you're just telling them that, oh, you can go out there and become whoever you want to be by just going to reap where you didn't sow. Yeah, socialism is you treating everyone or the community equal. It's when the community or the person has equal shares. But that doesn't mean you should not do anything and go meet someone who has worked so hard to get what he has today and start saying, oh, can't you give me some part of what you have? No, I can't. I worked for it. You want to earn it, you work for it. That's how life is. Nothing comes in free will. Nothing comes freely. Even like God said, heaven help those who help themselves. Then heaven just come help you? No. Does God just come help you? No. You help yourself. He sees you're pushing through. Then he pours the anointing on you and make you go forward. And that's it. Nothing comes in free will. Nothing comes freely. So in everything you do, you work for it. Even though it's equality, you work for it, then it becomes equality. That's it. So that's what I have to say about the socialism. Please tell me what you think about socialism. Please don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and also please don't forget to share. Thank you so much for watching me. See you guys in my next video.